Hey guys, welcome back to this week's poll here on Comic Relief Cast. I'm your host Jake.
And I'm Josh, and this is What Are We Reading?
I like it. Waste no time getting right into it. Guys, so there's a lot coming out this week. We've got a lot going on here at the shop. So what we're going to do is we're just going to condense everything into one video, kind of go over everything very briefly, and let you guys know what we think about the books and what we would recommend picking up there towards the end. So, what we're going to be going over this episode is Captain Marvel issue 3, Savage Sword of Conan number 3, Invisible Kingdom number 1, Spider-Man City at War number 1, Wolverine Infinity Watch number 2, Meet the Skrulls number 2, Teen Titans number 28, West Coast Avengers number 9, Miles Morales Spider-Man number 4, Naomi number 3, Justice League number 20, Guardians of the Galaxy number 3, Immortal Hulk number 15, Criminal number 3, Batman number 67, Avengers number 17, Thor number 11, Spider-Man Life Story number 1 of the 60s, and Avengers No Road Home number 6, and Venom number 12. As you guys can tell, we have read a crap ton of comic books this week for you guys, so at least, the very least, you're going to know what our thoughts on it. If you've been listening this far, you guys kind of know what Josh's tastes are, what my tastes are, so take with it what you will. But the first issue, we're going over Captain Marvel number 3 by Kelly Thompson, and the artist is Carmen Cornero. I gotta say, out of all 3 issues, this is probably the better one. Not my favorite it's not like my favorite thing by any means, but that cover by Amanda Conner is still a huge deterrent for most collectors. They see that cover, they don't want it, but I will say, if you got the first 2 issues, I think this is the best one yet.
Yeah, as we've been saying, it kind of feels like a mediocre comic for the past 2 issues. This one kind of goes a little above that.
Yeah.
The pencils, that Amanda Conner cover does hurt this book, but the interiors are beautiful.
They're great.
They're great.
They look
great
really
interiors.
Good. Yeah. The only thing is, I do still think that there's a little bit of like man hating going on in the book.
There's a little agenda into there.
Yeah, it feels like Kelly Thompson's just her one book to just go, you know what, I'm kind of angry at a guy right now, so I'm going to use this book as my platform. But other than that, I give the book 2.75 Doochers.
I'm at 2.75 as well.
All right, I'm going to move on real quick to Savage Sword of Conan number 3 by Jerry Duggan and Ron Garney. And it's a lot, just more of the same of the past 2 issues. If you kind of like that, testosterone-fueled, not really nuanced storytelling, but just kind of Conan ripping through dudes and doing some cool stuff with a sword, this is right up your alley. And it's not really my thing. I mean, I like it. It's fun. It's an easy read, but I do prefer the Jason Aaron one. With this one, I'm going to go 2.8 Doochers.
It does have the good Alex Ross covers.
The Alex Ross covers are some of the best parts.
I read Invisible Kingdom by G. Willow Wilson and Kristen Ward on the art. The book was very nice to look at with the colors and everything, but for the most part of the story, it was very kind of vague and I find it to be a little confusing. I need to go through and probably read it one more time without having to read a big old stack of books.
Yeah.
But I kind of see where it's going. It seems like it's being filled with a lot of big metaphors and big political stuff. Okay. I'm going to give this book about 2.5 Doochers.
Okay, I'm going to read that actually. Spider-Man City at War number 1. This is kind of the game verse. This is the tie-in to the game that was just released late last year. The writer is Dennis Hopeless, and the artist is Michelle Bandini. Now, Josh and I think, may have a few different ideas on this one. I have not played the game. I've played some of it, but I have not started from the beginning. I kind of jumped in with a friend and just kind of got an idea for the gameplay. So I jumped into this, and I enjoyed it. It was just fine. It didn't blow me away. It didn't get me all that excited. It felt like very, very much like a Spider-Man story, and I was fine with that. And I think the best part of this book is actually the history you can feel between Mary Jane and Peter. I think that's the strongest part of this book.
I personally, I wouldn't call this book a tie-in. It is literally an adaptation. So for me, I played the game, and I do love the game. I like the story in the game, but this is literally the game. That's the story of this. And I'm not trying to spoil anything for you, but if you played the game and you're hoping that this is some kind of added content, it's not. It's literally just an adaptation of the game.
You did say there are some gaps in here that
there is some,
they don't address.
because of the way that the game transitions from the story to a playable mode back to a story. For this, they had to fill in that gap of that playable moment, and then they kind of make it also a little bit more flow, a little bit faster. So there is some stuff in here that kind of tells you a little bit more, or you see a little bit more than what you would in the game. But for the most part, the main story of this is the game. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and give this 3.1 Doochers. I liked it just fine, but it does feel like it's a Spider-Man story. I'm going to give it 2.8. I do like it. It's just I've already read this. I've already pretty much read the story with air quotes around that.
All right, I'm gonna move on real quick to Meet the Skrulls #2 by Robbie Thompson and Nico Henrichon, maybe. We didn't review issue 1. We didn't really think there was gonna be anything to this book. Then later on, we ended up reading it and actually liking it more than I thought I would. So I wanted to read issue 2, kind of go over it, maybe get some eyes on this book. If you guys haven't picked this up, it's not on your radar. It's actually an interesting little story. It kind of reminds me of Tom King's Vision when he did that back at Marvel a few years ago. I liked it. And this kind of feels like that. My only real problem was because Skrulls are shapeshifters, I don't always know who is who because I don't know what shape they're taking at that point. So I do get a little confused as to what character is saying what or who's doing what. But other than that, I actually think this is a clever little book. It feels like Tom King's Vision and his android family living in the suburbs. Here's kind of the Skrulls incognito living in the suburbs and living kind of a mundane American life. It's kind of neat. So I'm going to give this one 3.25 Dutchers. Actually, a pretty cool little book.
I am looking forward to reading that. I read Wolverine Infinity Watch #2 by Jerry Duggan and MacDonald, not the McDonald's. And this, I mean, it doesn't really, like, you're reading this expecting some kind of answers, and there really isn't. It's just like a little kind of fun book. It's pretty mediocre to me, kind of the same way I felt about the first issue. I'm going to give this one, I'm just going to go right down the middle. Well, I'm going a little below middle. I'm going to go 2.45 Dutchers.
All right, moving on to Teen Titans #28, The Terminus Agenda. Part 1, we went over the Deathstroke one last time thinking that was going to be the kind of the part 1, but it really isn't. No. This is really the part 1. There is a small tie-in towards the end of the last Deathstroke issue if you want to pick that up. But I think honestly, I can honestly say this is maybe one of my least favorite issues of the new Teen Titans book. This is one of my least favorite of this new iteration of the team. It's not that it's not exciting or interesting, but it feels very much like your run-of-the-mill Teen Titans book, whereas before I felt like that series really felt unique and stood on its own. It's something very different from what the Teen Titans was before it. This one feels very much more in line of a kind of a classic Teen Titans book, and if that's up your alley and that sounds good, cool. Teen Titans want to take on Deathstroke. That's your story.
Yeah, so you took the words right out of my mouth. That's the same way I felt. I've been loving this series. This one did not feel like a Teen Titans book. I like it where they kind of dig into with the psyche of the characters and how they react to each other. And this does feel more like they kind of went away with that and went to, hey, let's go to Teen Titans versus Deathstroke, which we've seen millions of times before. So I was on the same boat with that.
And with that, I'm going to give this one just a straightforward 2.75 Dutchers. It's a fine book, but it's not the most memorable thing I read today.
I'm at 2.75 Dutchers as well.
All right, moving on to West Coast Avengers #9 by Kelly Thompson and Gang Hyuk Lim. And this, actually, I gotta say right off the bat, this is a killer cover.
It's the best cover that they had so far.
Absolutely. I think actually the last issue is more of the women in the foreground, and now it's the men in the foreground. But it's a really killer little cover. And Josh and I have both been really liking West Coast Avengers. It's not a popular series here in our shop, which, it's unfortunate, but it's a good little series all around. This is also not my favorite West Coast Avengers issue so far. There are some good moments, but there are definitely some moments that have me scratching my head, some decisions that are made. But all in all, it's in keeping with everything that's going on. It's progressing the story. It leaves off on a note that I'm curious about, but again, it's definitely not my favorite issue of the series so far.
I agree. It's not my favorite issue so far either. There is a few things that kind of make you go, scratch your head. Granted, it's dealing with characters I didn't like in the first place,
or that don't mean anything.
Yeah, don't mean anything to me, so I don't really care. But it wasn't, it wasn't as near as eventful as some of the other issues, or as heartwarming
or endearing. Yeah.
But I'll give this book. I'm still enjoying it. I'm going to give it 2.65.
Oh wow, okay. I'm going to go a little higher, 2.9 Dutchers.
Okay.
All right, moving on to Miles Morales, SpiderMan #4 by Saladin Ahmed, and the artist is Javier Garron. And what I'm going to say to you guys right now, if you didn't pick up the first 3 issues, this is a perfect point to jump on. The first 3 issues kind of wrapped up a little mini arc, and this issue 4 is kind of the start of a new one. And this is not about Miles being a superhero, really. It's more just about Miles and his daily life and dealing with school and relationships and stuff like that.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off meets Miles Morales.
Exactly. That's a great way of putting it, and I really enjoyed this issue. This is where we get our grading scale. The vice principal's name is Dutcher. So I really enjoyed it, though. If you guys haven't picked up Miles Morales by Saladin Ahmed, this is a perfect time to jump on. It's a good little issue.
It's a great little one-shot.
It does. And the only thing that pisses me off is that Apparently Miles Morales gets on his phone during a movie. I don't like that. I think it's very disrespectful.
Hey, they call him out on it.
Good. But with that, I'm going to give this one 3.3 Dutchers.
I'm at 3.4 Dutchers.
All right.
I like how we're kind of like a little bit around the same margin.
Yeah, I feel like that maybe you're just doing that on purpose.
No, I'm not doing it on purpose.
All right. Moving on to Naomi, number 3 by Brian Michael Bendis in, oh crap, I can never remember the artist's name. I'm so sorry, guys. The artist is killer, and I gotta be able to put their name out there. I know it's David F. Walker. Jamal Campbell is the artist. David F. Walker is one of the writers. But, okay, guys, so we've been talking a lot of shit on Bendis since he moved over to DC, and we have been saying consistently that Naomi is probably one of the things that he's one of his better products out of DC right now, because I think there's a little bit more heart invested into it, because he does have an adopted daughter and things like that. So, I'm not going to lie, Naomi number 3 is one of the best things Bendis has done in a long, long time. This is the first time I've read anything by Bendis where I was like, damn it, I don't want this to end. I'm really curious at how where this is going. I want my answers. It's really well done. The art is beautiful. Bendis, you can just tell, loves writing the story. It's coming from the heart. If you're a fan of Bendis and you want something that reminds you of when Bendis was great, this is the series you need to be picking up on. Now I'm kind of bummed I didn't get from issue 1 because now this is something I definitely want in my collection. Issue 3 was phenomenal. This is a 3.8 Dutchers from me.
All right.
Killer little book.
Okay. A little shocked by your response on that one, but okay, good. I'm going to have to read it now.
Yeah.
I read Justice League number 20. It's a sixth dimension chapter 2. I did not read number 1, and I haven't been reading it, but there's not that many DCs out, so I had to read something DC. And jumping into this event at the second part probably wasn't a good idea. But to be honest, this event so far from what I'm seeing, even though it's it's an overdone kind of concept, and you kind of see where it's going because you've seen stuff like this before, it wasn't very bad. It was actually pretty nice. I don't like how Snyder writes Flash or Barry. But I mean, to be honest, this wasn't near as bad as some of his other issues of Justice League. I'll give him that. With that being said, I'm going to give this one 2 point... Man, I'm writing these like same really... I can't wait to get to the good ones. Okay, 2.65 Dutchers.
And if you guys are curious, Justice League number 20 does have 3 different connecting variants. So if you were to get the main cover and then the 2 other covers, they would all make like one big splash page. If you're out on the look for those, people were telling us a little too late, and we couldn't get everybody one.
Yeah, it looks like it's the right side with all the future versions of the character. That one is already kind of on backorder through Diamond, so keep your eye out on that when you go to your stores.
Exactly. All right, moving on to Guardians of the Galaxy number 3 by Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw. And what can I say? Donny Cates keeps delivering. He keeps bringing the fun. He keeps bringing the action. He keeps bringing the characters, the quirky character interactions. Don't see where this is going at times, and I love that he's bringing a lot of these characters that they don't get a lot of love. There's really no superstar character in this book that is like your main antagonist. You get a lot of these characters that kind of get shoved up to the side in favor of somebody else. This book is just full of those characters. It's kind of a misfit ragtag team, and I love it. And anytime I can get me some Nova and Gladiator and Beta Ray Bill and some Cosmic Ghost Rider all thrown in together, it makes for a hell of a good time. I'm having a great time with this series. Definitely check this one out.
Yeah, this is great. The dialogue is fantastic through multiple parts. This is Donny Cates knows how to write for all these characters, and it is, and like what you said, the lineup of characters in this, I love. It screams for me: Cosmic Ghost Rider, Gladiator, Nebula, Nova, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Beta Ray Bill. Like, I mean, just it's a laundry list of great characters, and I do enjoy this series a lot. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
I am too. So with that, I'm going to give this one 3.4 Dutchers. I'm really enjoying this one.
3.6 Dutchers.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
I knew once we could start getting to the ones I liked.
Moving on to the Immortal Hulk by number 15 by Al Ewing and Joe Bennett. Good to see Joe Bennett back on the art. It doesn't feel like Immortal Hulk just as much without Joe Bennett drawing crazy-eyed Hulk. But this issue, as you can tell by that badass Alex Ross cover, there's actually 2 great Alex Ross covers for this issue this week, so be on the lookout for that. This one's got Doc Samson on it. It's kind of Doc Samson coming into Hulk's world, and we're kind of getting some retroactive storytelling here about Samson when he came back, and then what he's been doing since the Hulk has been coming back. But there is one page in this book that absolutely skyrocketed this issue way up my rating system because of just the shit that Hulk's saying, and I absolutely loved it. This is one of my favorite books of today. I'm giving this one 4.2 Dutchers. Immortal Hulk never ceases to amaze. I don't want to give anything away. Get this book.
I do love it, and also the ending has me extremely excited. This book is killer, and also kudos to a book that can make me actually like and care about Dr. Samson. Like, I always dug him, but like it was like a D-list dug, you know?
Right, yeah.
I'm going to give this one a 4.0.
Okay. All right.
I liked it, and I love that. I know what splash page you're talking about, and I do love that.
That thing just took it to another level for me.
Great.
All right, Criminal #3 by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. This one, surprisingly, actually continues issue 2. Issue 1 kind of wasn't really, it was very loosely connected to issue 2. Issue 3 is almost a straight-up sequel to issue 2, and it's exploring more of the artists, the two artists that live together, or not live together, work together, one being the old mentor, one being the young one who's kind of now disillusioned with his old mentor and what's going on with this book. But as we keep saying, Brubaker and Phillips, you're not reading a comic book, you're watching a movie play out in panel form. It's so seamless, so easy to read. I can't recommend it enough. If you guys are not looking for something that is superhero, beat-em-up action, but you're just looking for something that's great storytelling, you're looking for something that just grabs you and you just get sucked into what's happening, but you know, between the relationship between two characters, this is absolutely the book I would recommend. Issue 3 of Criminal, I'm going to give this one 3.95 douchers. It's almost there to a number 4, which to me is a stellar. That's a hard rating to get as a 4.
I read Batman 67's Nightmare Part 5 by Tom King, and then the artist is Lee Weeks and Jorge Fornes. This book was a very quick read because there was only a little bit to read. I will say that Lee Weeks and Jorge Fornes, their pencils, for it not being much of a reading book, it was some great art to look at.
So what do you mean it's not much of a reading book? What do you mean by that?
It means that there is very little dialogue.
Would you say it's like Hit Girl?
Little to no.
Hit Girl issue 1?
There's only dialogue on like the last page, like pretty much. There's only like any kind of reading towards the last page. But it's just Batman chasing this masked person from a rooftop throughout Gotham. You don't know who this guy is. You've never seen him before, and then you get a reveal at the end. But he's chasing him because there is a dead body on a roof by him. But I will say this: it was kind of a very Tom King book, and then also I feel like it's kind of a cheap book for like. It's the whole Nightmare thing is supposed to be a story arc, and this just feels very out of place, and it feels like as if it was not even a filler issue, as if it was like a one-shot issue. It made no sense. But the artwork was great to look at. I will give them that. But because there is no dialogue and I'm completely lost, I'm giving this book only 2.3 douchers.
Wow, it's pretty high considering. All right.
Yeah, the artwork sold me on it. That's the only thing.
All right, moving on to Earth's Mightiest Heroes, The Avengers, issue 17 by Jason Aaron and David Marquez. And this one is wrapping up. If you've been reading, it's wrapping up the kind of the vampire thing, all that stuff that's been ramping up with Dracula and the oh crap, what do they call it? The Colonel, what do they call
Colonel
him?
Shadow or something like that.
I forget what they're calling themselves. The Shadow something. But
you're talking about the team itself.
Yeah, I can't remember. But it's bringing in the Winter's Guard, it's bringing in the vampires, it's bringing in the Avengers. It's kind of wrapping everything up. You know, Blade and Ghost Rider, all that stuff. It's a good little thing, good little read. I liked it. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving the Avengers series as a whole. But I will say this little mini arc has felt a little bit of as a filler to just kind of buy some time until War of the Realms comes out. War of the Realms does hit shelves in 2 weeks. That's right when the next Avengers issue should be hitting. So it seems like they're just like, we got to do this. And then when War of the Realms comes, that's when Jason Aaron's going to have his big blowout celebration for himself with Avengers, Thor, everything else. But this one I had a fine enough time. I'm going to give it 3.3 douchers.
I personally, I was kind of digging this, but I feel exactly the same way you feel, that this feels like it was like a filler thing. They just had to kill some time before War of the Realms. It was kind of a lackluster ending for the story arc. I was kind of digging it there for a little bit. And this is probably not one of my favorite issues of Avengers.
It's not.
I'm going to give it 3 douchers.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. All right, moving on to Thor issue 11 by Jason Aaron and Dan Garbett. Or Lee Garbett, I'm sorry. I always want to say Dan. And this one, if you guys read the last issue of Thor, it was very much about Thor and his kind of volatile relationship with Odin. This one is the other side of that coin. This is his relationship with Freya and how, you know, she sees him as a son, he sees her as a mother, and their relationship and their dynamic. And it's a good little touching, heartfelt issue. If you cannot find something to relate to with the relationship with your own mother in here, I'd say you were hard pressed to not relate to this issue in any way. But again, this is also another issue that's ramping up War of the Realms. It's setting all the pieces in motion for War of the Realms to be this huge big blowout thing. But I really enjoyed this issue. Again, it's not action packed. Definitely something that relies much more on character interactions. I'm going to give this one 3.4 douchers.
Okay. Yeah, I like this issue. It was good. But like the Avengers, I kind of feel like the past couple of issues of Thor was kind of like, let's take a mild little break before War of the Realms. But with that being said, though, I do enjoy the last 2 issues of Thor a lot more than I enjoyed this issue of Avengers.
Yeah.
With that being said, I'm giving it 3.2 douchers.
Yeah, it feels like the calm before the storm.
Oh, yeah, and then also it was kind of nice. I like Dodderman, or Del Mundo and Dodderman on Thor and stuff.
Yeah.
But Garbett.
Yeah, Lee Garbett.
It was
I was lukewarm.
At times,
Yeah.
there's some panels that were pretty cool.
I was lukewarm on the pencils. All right, moving on to Spider-Man Life Story #1, The 60s by Chip Zdarsky and Mark Bagley. Now, this is one that we had been speculating for a long time. We thought, this feels like it's going to be something like Spider-Man Blue. It's going to be something along those lines. And I think what happened was I hyped myself up a little too much for this book. I think I was putting too high of expectations on this book, and while I did find that I enjoyed my time reading this, it was not the redefining of Peter Parker that I thought I was going to be getting. It does feel very much like they took moments straight out of the first Raimi Spider-Man movie. I do feel like there are influences throughout that I'm like, okay, I recognize this from the movie, or I recognize this from somewhere else, and I thought that's a nice homage. And then, they start throwing in other characters, and I go, this just feels a little odd, especially the way they ended this book. Because I thought this was going to be a book that followed him through the decades, so I'm going, where does issue 2 go? So now I got to look up what that's all about. But it's not what I thought it was going to be. I thought with Chip Zdarsky having done Man Without Fear, and I thought it was very nuanced. I thought it was really good character introspection and getting into the mind of Matt Murdock. I thought that was going to maybe be something they carried over for Peter Parker, and we get something like that, a new angle on Peter, a new look at him through a new different lens, and that isn't what I ended up getting, and I am a little disappointed.
I hyped it up a little bit on myself too. It sounds like I might have enjoyed it a little bit more than you did. I was kind of hoping that this would be kind of digging a little bit more deeper into the psyche of Peter Parker. I think that maybe once I get to the next issue, I think it might do that a little bit better, because then the whole premise of this is supposed to be watching, having Spider-Man age with the comics.
Right.
So this is a Peter Parker that we have seen at this age, and the normal, all that stuff is all normal. We've already seen this before, so I'm looking more towards once we get to the 70s, the 80s, and 90s.
Right, but if the next issue is the 70s, and the ending of this book is just a really
I don't understand
weird
the ending on this, but I really did enjoy this. I found myself getting lost in this issue, though.
Okay. Well, it wasn't a home run for me. I was really expecting it. That's why I kind of saved it for as one of my last reads of the night. I was going, I want to really enjoy this book, so I'm going to get all the other issues I'm not as excited about out of the way so I can read this. And it wasn't what I wanted from it. Was it a bad issue? No, not by any means is this a bad issue. This is just not what I was hoping it would be. So if someone was going in expecting this to be something great, if you're going in expecting for this to be the next big thing in the Spider-Man lore, this is probably not that, judging by this issue. But who knows what future installments have in store. But for this one, I gotta go. I'm gonna go 3.0. Douchers.
I'm at 3.5 douchers.
Okay, well, then that's probably the biggest disparity we have for tonight.
Yeah.
All right, and you're going to move on to Venom issue 12.
Yeah, Venom issue 12 by Donny Cates, and pencils are done by Joshua Cassara. And I've been enjoying Venom. This was a good issue. It was one of those issues, though, that kind of is a little off to the wayside. Not one that you're going to go write death threats to Donny Cates over, though. That was just ridiculous. But it was a good issue, just not the action-packed one that we've gotten. I'm going to give it probably 3.0 douchers.
Okay, and the last issue we save for you guys is the big one that's going to be just driving up all the prices, all the money in the world. You guys are going to want 5 copies of this book so you can send your kids to college in 30 years. Avengers No Road Home, issue 6 by Al Ewing, Jim Zub, Mark Waid, and Sean Isaacsi. This is when Conan joins the Marvel Universe, at least in main continuity. But I'm not going to spoil what happens in this book. I will say that if you are picking up Immortal Hulk, pick up this book along with it, because there are some really good tie-ins, which, it makes sense with Al Ewing. Actually a few of these books I've noticed, like Miles Morales, West Coast Avengers, they're all kind of very slyly referencing things that are happening in the greater Marvel Universe, and I really appreciate that. And this one is very centered on Scarlet Witch and Conan. this is pretty much their issue for all intents and purposes, and I think it was a pretty well done issue. I was pretty impressed because we've got 2 other Conan things. Now we got a 3rd Conan. Well, actually, if it's Age of Conan Blight, so there's like 4 Conan-centric stories going on now. This one was a delightful little issue. I do not want to give too much of it away, but what were your thoughts?
I liked it. It was good. It has its moments of action-packed. Marvel is kind of wearing me out a little bit on the Conan stuff,
right?
With all the Conan going on, but I will say that Al Ewing, Jim Zub, and Mark Waid, all 3 writers, hopefully you can write a good Conan story, and they do.
Yeah,
you got 3 writers on your, on the book. So.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I'm excited for what happens next with Conan. I think this is a good introduction with him and Scarlet Witch. I think the 2 of them actually work really well together. Not a pairing I would have ever thought to put together, but I am very, very excited and interested to see what happens when Conan and Hercules get to meet up with each other. That is what I'm looking forward to most right now, especially, and then the Hulk. The 3 of these brutes all, either teaming up or maybe even going at it. I don't know. That prospect has me very excited, but this issue is not my favorite issue of Avengers No Road Home so far. I would still say the first 2 issues of Avengers No Road Home were really killer, and this one's good. Don't get me wrong, it's good. It's a good installment. It's getting the story going, but it just feels odd that right smack dab in the middle, we're just kind of pausing for Conan and Scarlet Witch, and the rest of the team. They're not in this book very much at all. So
no, you're not even actually in 616.
Not yet, no.
No, you're not even in 616 throughout this book. You're mostly in Conan's. Wherever
Samaria,
you want to call it, yeah.
Or I forget what it's called. But anyway, so with that, I'm going to give Avengers No Road Home number 6, 3.1 Dutchers. Not a great one, not a blow my hair back kind of book, but it is exciting, and it does get me excited for what's to come later in the series.
3.1. That was exactly where I was at.
All right, Josh. Now, because last week we seemed to have some people who enjoyed it, if you could recommend, because we read, I don't even want to count how many books we read for this episode. I would say collectively between the 2 of us, we're easily bordering on about 20 issues. If you could pick out 5 issues of what you read, what were the must-get 5 issues for anybody who's on a budget? And if your tastes line up with Josh's, these are the ones that he would recommend.
All right, I would say Miles Morales, SpiderMan number 4, Guardians of the Galaxy number 3, Immortal Hulk 15. What, I got 2 more then? And then I would probably say Spider-Man Life Story number 1. And I think that it'd be stupid for you not to be grabbing Avengers No Road Home. I mean, it's a weekly event, and it's actually been a solid event for once.
Yeah, all right. And if you guys have been listening at all and you feel like maybe your tastes align a little bit more with mine, the 5 I am going to recommend are going to be Thor number 11. I think with War of the Realms coming out, Thor is definitely something you need to be checking out. Criminal number 3. Immortal Hulk number 15. I don't think there's ever going to be a time where Immortal Hulk comes out and I don't recommend it. Guardians of the Galaxy number 3, and much to my surprise over everything else, I'm recommending Naomi issue 3. That one really, if you guys have been following,
best part about it is we was not gonna read it at first. We forgot all about it, and it was like last minute right before we were about to record. We're like, hey, we didn't read Naomi.
We didn't read much of DC because DC has been cutting titles, and we thought, oh yeah, we should probably include a couple more DC titles. So, guys, that is all we've got for you this week. We apologize that if you were hoping us to split it up between Marvel and DC, that now you had to go and maybe listen to us talk about a bunch of stuff you didn't want us to talk about or didn't want to hear about, but we appreciate you bearing with us, and this is all we've got for you this week. Josh, do you want to say anything to the folks at home?
Spay and neuter your pets.
All right, guys, so hit that like button, hit that thumbs down button, doesn't matter to us. Comment below, let us know your thoughts on any of these books. Are you picking any of them up? Are you not picking any of them up? Let us know. Have you read them already? Let us know. Share this with your comic book reading friends, and of course, guys, always subscribe to the channel. We are sniffing the heels of 1,000. Help us get there. We appreciate all of you guys who took the time to listen. Take care.
Crumb, damn it.